Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The date is January 19, 2021. The time is now 7 o'clock p.m. I'll welcome everybody to the meeting of the Havre Grace Mayor and City Council. I will begin with the roll call of the council members. Council President Glenn.
Here.
Councilmember Robertson. Here. Councilmember Zinner.
Here.
Councilmember Boyer.
Here.
Councilmember Ringsager.
Here.
Councilmember Martin.
Here.
Thank you very much. All council members are accounted for. I'd like to move over to the Pledge of Allegiance and the opening prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This evening's opening prayer is submitted by Pastor Lynn Humphreys Russ of Susquehanna Charge of the United Methodist Church. It will be read this evening by the council president. Sir?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let us pray. Holy One, known by many names and beyond all names, Spirit of life, Spirit of love, Spirit of community, Spirit of justice, we ask your blessings on the people who have been called tonight to lead the community in which we live and work and play. Help them as leaders to not ask first, how do we fix this, but what do we need to learn? How might we need to change? And to whom do we need to listen? Remind them, because we all forget from time to time in the contentious of today, that we're not only leaders, but servants, and it is their responsibility and ours to serve the common good of all. Remind them, no matter where we live, everyone is a neighbor, our sister and brother. And throughout the ages, prophets have called the leaders of the people to respect and protect the least among us, our children, the elderly, the poor, those who are hungry, those who have no homes, those who are ill in body, mind, and spirit, and the strangers in our midst, those who live on the margins, those who are alone, those who are forgotten. Grant us all, with these men and women who are leading our community, the wisdom and courage to know and do what is right and good and true. May we all speak out when it's time to speak out, and listen patiently and respectfully when it's time to listen. May we all be guided by the spirit of community, by the spirit of justice, and by the spirit of love. This we pray in the name of all we hold sacred and holy, and all that we hold in good and right and true. We know you by many names. I pray the powerful name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much, Council President. Okay, we're going to move to item 5 on this meeting's agenda, which will be the approval of the council meeting minutes of January 4th, 2021. Council, have a motion to approve the minutes.
So move.
Second.
Councilmember Zinner made the motion, seconded by Councilmember Ringsager. Questions or comments on the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Council meeting minutes of January 4th, 2021 carried 6-0 in the affirmative. Councilmember Boyd, were you here at the last meeting?
No, it was not.
Okay.
I watched it online.
Okay, watch online. All right. Mr. Sack, should Councilmember Boyd be voting on these minutes if she wasn't present?
There's a practice that you don't vote on them if you have, but it's not.
All right, don't worry about it then. I'll let it go. And just procedurally, that's all. Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Ishak. We're going to go to item number 6, comments from citizens on agenda items. Mr. Seipel, we received any comments from citizens that are on the agenda items?
No, Mayor, we have not received any this evening.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Or
Seipel.
today.
Council, do you have any comments or questions on item number 6?
None.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll go to item number 7, appointments this evening, Street and Traffic Safety Advisory Board. Councilmember Boyer.
Mayor, I move that we reappoint James W. Walker to another term on the Street and Traffic Safety Advisory Board.
Second.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Boyer, seconded by Councilmember Martin. This is for the reappointment of Mr. James Walker to the Street and Traffic Safety Advisory Board. Questions or comments on Mr. Walker? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The reappointment of Mr. Walker to the Street and Traffic Safety Advisory Board carries 6-0 in the affirmative. Item B, a Wage and Benefit Commission appointment. Mr. Ringsacker.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I make a motion to reappoint Mr. Fred Wills Jr. for the Wage and Benefits Commission.
Second.
Council, I have a motion by Councilman Ringsacker, seconded by Council President Glenn. This is for the reappointment of Mr. Fred Wills Jr. to the Wage and Benefits Commission. Questions or comments on Mr. Wills? Councilman Ringsacker.
Mr. Wills, I always tell him that I remember the old adage, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I tell him that as long as he's there, I know I'm in the right place, because he's probably one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. He's really the heart and soul of the Wage and Benefits Commission, really does the yeoman's work on the research and compiling the data, and he's been quite an asset to the city, and I couldn't recommend him higher.
I completely agree with your assessment, Councilman Ringsacker. Any other questions or comments on Mr. Wills? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion to reappoint Mr. Wills on the Wage and Benefits Commission carries by the council 6-0 in the affirmative. Item number C, a Water and Sewer Commission appointment. Councilmember Martin.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion to appoint James E. Clark to the Water and Sewer Commission.
Second.
I have a motion by the council, by Councilmember Martin, seconded by the council president. This is for a first-time appointment to the Water and Sewer Commission for Mr. James Clark. Questions or comments on Mr. Clark? Councilmember Martin.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Clark is a prime example of a 77-year-old resident of Havre Grace who wants to become actively involved in the community. He's been in the military. He's been active in the youth sports programs here. He's selling real estate in Aberdeen, so he knows our area well. He'll be a great addition to the Water and Sewer Commission with his knowledge of infrastructure.
Thank you very much for your comments, Councilmember Martin. Any other questions or comments on Mr. Clark? Okay, council. All those in favor of the appointment say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The appointment of Mr. James Clark to the Water and Sewer Commission carries 6-0 in the affirmative. Thank you very much, council. Mr. Clark actually served on our temporary commission a few years ago on the Titans Park Commission, did a very fine job, so good appointment, council. Okay. This evening, we're going to do an oath of office for 2 new police officers for the city of Havre de Grace. These officers have just recently graduated from Police Academy and they are now currently employed and on patrol for the city of Havre de Grace. I'm going to go down and swear these officers in, and I'm also have the chief say a couple words about each officer. Council President Glenn. Councilmember Boyer. Safety Commission. Well, thank you, everybody, for being here this evening. We have 2 new officers that we'd like to welcome to the Havre de Grace Police Department. We're very proud of these men. I had the privilege of meeting them before they went to the academy, and they assured me that they would pass, and they did, so we're very happy. So anyway, but I want to hand off to the chief just to give a little more background on who these two new servants of the city of Havre de Grace are for the general public, so when you bump into them, you can say hi.
Thank you, Mayor. The two new officers, the gentleman right here is Chris Savage. He actually comes from Cecil County, from Port Deposit, and we're very happy to have him in our city because he also has a tie to our city. And the next gentleman right here is Alexis Matos. He comes from New Jersey. We're not going to hold you that against you, but you know. Hey. But trust me, you will not want to go back to New Jersey after you've been here for a while. You really, really won't. It's a terrific community. I think you both are going to do a great job. Just to let you know, Mayor, and our citizens know, they actually started the Baltimore County Police Academy on July the 6th, and they just recently graduated. They, unfortunately, because of COVID, they did not have a formal graduation, but they are hoping to have that in March in a much bigger facility in Baltimore County. So they will actually, hopefully, have a good graduation, a formal graduation when that does occur. So, yes, definitely. They're both, so far, according to their field training officers, they're doing very well. So we'll see.
That's very excellent news.
Yes.
I'm sorry both of you lost the opportunity to have the room. Excellent. And Captain, you want to say anything? I think we're good. Chief said it all. Council President?
Welcome to the team. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Council President. Councilmember Boyer, who's the chair of the Safety Commission.
Just want to thank you for making this choice for a career. When you make a choice to serve a community, it's a choice that's bigger than yourselves. It's a choice that's going to be an honorable thing that you're going to live with for the rest of your lives. And very proud of you for making this choice to serve us. Thank you.
Now, most importantly, I'll let everybody else have a chance to talk. I would like to hand the microphone to each of you. Tell us just a little bit about yourself and why you want to be a police officer here in Havre.
So my name is Alexis Matos. Again, I come from New Jersey. I was a correctional officer down there. I got my toes wet within law enforcement. Thought that I wanted to do a little bit something more, so I saw Havre de Grace was hiring, and they gave me the opportunity to come here, and I'm very thankful for that.
Hi, I'm Chris Savage. So my parents own a shop downtown, and I've got to know a lot of the community and a lot of the citizens here from that perspective. So when the opportunity arose that I could become an officer with Havre de Grace, I thought, what a better way to get to know the community and the citizens a little bit further than just the, hey, and have a good afternoon, more of the, hey, I'm here to help, and what can I do? And I took that opportunity. I'm really excited with what I've seen so far and the opportunities that I've had.
Thank you so much. Excellent words, both of you. I'll let you get your squared in. Chief, were the officers being sworn in together or one by one?
Do you mind one by one?
Absolutely. That would be my preference too.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate
We're
that.
going to start with Chris, okay? Actually, I can hold it. I was going to actually hold it back. I think I'll stand over here for you. Okay, Christopher? First, I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I'm going to say the word I. When I say the word I, you repeat the word I, but also say your name, your full name, okay? I
Chris Savage,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will fulfill the requirement
that I will fulfill the requirement
of the office I'm about to assume,
of the office I'm about to assume,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of Maryland,
to the state
support the laws and Constitution thereof,
and support the laws and Constitution,
that I will faithfully and impartially,
that I will faithfully and partially,
without fear of favor or prejudice,
without fear of favor or prejudice,
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of police officer for the city of Havre de Grace.
of police officer
Ability.
to the best of my ability.
Good job. Excellent. Well done, sir. Officer Matos, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I'm going to say the word I. When I say the word I, you repeat the word I and say your full name, please. I
I, Alexis Matos,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will fulfill the requirement of the office I'm about to assume, that I will support the Constitution of the United States, that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland, support the laws and Constitution thereof, that I will be faithfully and impartially, without fear of favor or prejudice, discharge the duties of police officer for the city of Havre, Grace. Best of my abilities. Lunch. All right. Christopher, would you like to walk over here real quick? I'll sign this for you. I think the chief wants to present something to you. But
Yes,
you wanna go
actually-
first?
If you don't mind?
Yes.
Actually, one of the things that we started to do a little while ago is for every new police officer that comes to our department, we actually get you an engraved plaque of your oath of office, because this is something that this is near and dear to your heart. You absolutely have to follow your oath of office. So, Chris, I want to make sure that you have one, and also Alexis, and there is yours. Not a problem. So hopefully in 25 years, you'll be able to put that next to your shadow box for your retirement. Thank you, gentlemen.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Christopher, come with me and we'll make it official. This goes to the city records, if you could sign that for me. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Alexis? Goes into the city archives, if you could sign it right there. I just want to say real quick, I want to welcome you both to the finest people I know, honestly. 12 years ago, before I became an elected official, the Havre Grace Police have just been amazing reputation. And then being on this side of government and seeing how the sausage is made, it's even better than you can think. They're good men, good women. They have a high standard of excellence, and I commend you both for choosing our organization to begin your career, and hopefully your full career if it works out. I mean, but what you're really going to find most amazing about the city of Havre Grace are the people you serve. Havre Gracians are unlike any other people you're ever going to run into. Good people, law-abiding people. They have compassion. They're volunteers first. They roll their sleeves up and they get the job done, and they'll work. You'll find that the people will work with you and not against you. So I want to welcome you to a great community, and I wish you both success and safety. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Any pictures that you guys wanted to get at all, or?
I got most of the video. You want to get something together, as together as you can get? Ready?
Got me.
enjoy your trip.
See you next fall.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move to number 9, recognitions. This evening, the city has no recognitions on its agenda. Item 10, proclamations. We have no proclamations either. And most likely due to COVID-19, there's no presentations. And we'll just go on to resolutions, and we have 2 resolutions on this evening's agenda. First resolution is a calendar resolution concerning license agreement at 618 Green Street, and I'll hand that off to Mr. Councilmember Ringsager.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to introduce calendar resolution concerning a license agreement at 618 Green Street.
Second.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Ringsager, seconded by Councilmember Martin. This is a resolution on a license agreement at 618 Green Street. This is a motion to introduce a resolution. Questions or comments on the introduction? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion to introduce a resolution concerning a license agreement at 618 Green Street carries 6-0 in the affirmative. A resolution by the Mayor and City Council of the City of Havre de Grace, Maryland, pursuant to Sections 33 and 34 of the City Charter and the Local Government Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, to authorize the Mayor to enter into a license agreement for construction and replacement of a covered porch on the right-of-way at 618 Green Street. Council, this is going to be Resolution 2021-02. 2021-02. And do I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Ringsager, seconded by Councilmember Martian for the adoption. Questions or comments on this resolution? Councilmember Ringsager.
Mr. Mayor, Council, as you stated, this is for a replacement of a covered porch on the city right-of-way at 618 Green Street. It's about 100 yards from here, a nice home that they're doing some reconstruction on. They're going to tear down the porch and reconstruct a nicer, newer, heavy-duty one. The lease agreement is standard boilerplate language as before. It does include our $50 administrative fee and the new schedule for payment and the timeline that was agreed upon previously. I do have 2 friendly amendments to add for correction of grammar. If I could make a motion to introduce, amend the lease agreement. Page 4, line 99. It says, the porch shall extend no further into the right-of-way than the existing porch. That should be than. And subsequently, the same language on page 8, item 1. The porch shall extend no further into the right-of-way than the existing porch. And I make those as friendly amendments.
Okay, not a problem. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments before a roll call vote? Okay. Council, we're going to do a roll call vote on Resolution 2021-02. Councilmember Zinner.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Boyer.
Yes.
Councilmember Ringsager.
Yes.
Councilmember Robertson.
Yes?
Council President Glenn.
Yes.
By roll call vote of 6-0 in the affirmative, Council Resolution 2021-02 concerning license agreement at 618 Green Street is approved by this council. Thank you very much, Councilmember Ringsager. Item B, calendar resolution concerning purchasing card accounts for city operations, and we're going to hand this off to the council president.
I think Jason's going to take it tonight.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No worries, Mr. Mayor.
Of course.
I move to introduce a calendar resolution to authorize purchase card.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember Robertson,
Second.
second by Councilmember Martin. This is a motion to introduce a resolution concerning purchase card accounts for city operations. Questions or comments on this introduction? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion to introduce resolution concerning purchasing card accounts for city operations carries 6-0 in the affirmative. Council, this is going to be Resolution 2021-03. 2021-03. A resolution by the Mayor and City Council of Havre de Grace, Maryland, pursuant to Section 33 and 34 of the City Charter and the Local Government Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, to authorize the city to obtain Visa card accounts for the purpose of city operations. Council, to have a motion to adopt Resolution 2021-03.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Zinner, seconded by Councilmember Robertson. Questions or comments on the resolution? Councilmember Martin.
Yes, this is, PNC closed our local branch here. This will bring us back to having an institution that is Harford County. It's close to us, and they have local branches in the city serving our residents.
Thank you, Councilmember Martin. Thank you very much. Councilmember Boyer.
Just a quick question for clarification. All of the benefits we had with the past purchase card are still with the current, with the new purchase card, correct?
Correct.
Which allows us to have a savings accrued or through our purchases.
Yes. And actually, if council doesn't have any objections, if council has any objections, we have been looking for a new bank since PNC closed down last year, and it's been a long vetting process. Would you have any objections for Mr. Doherty, just to kind of clarify your question you just had?
I think it's
I
a great
think it'd be
idea.
Okay,
great.
Mr. Doherty, can you please tell the public the steps involved for the city choosing a new bank, and answer Councilmember Boyer's question about the purchase card and things like that?
Yes, sir, Mayor, be happy to. This first started, as you noted, back in September of 2019, when PNC decided that they were going to close the local branch. We reached out to see what options were available to the city, and we first met with Harford Bank in November of 2019, where we exchanged information, what programs they needed, the purchase card program being one of them, and what some of our major concerns were. The state requirement that the funds, our bank accounts, be totally collateralized. Things of size and order of magnitude were our biggest concern, obviously. At the Harford Bank did not have a purchase card program, and we're actually one of their inaugural ones. TCM is a service provider for community banks for this kind of card. The card itself will have basically the same parameters and opportunities to grow it as they get comfortable with us. They have no history with us. But it should have the same, it has the same rebate opportunities. This was very important to us, along with the overall fee structure with Harford Bank, so that we weren't paying any more for the same services and the like. And Harford Bank has, I can say, has been very, very both forthcoming with their operations. They've done a lot of work. So far, they've done a lot more work than we have, but we're going to catch up now in the next 6 months. This program, they actually developed after looking at our Visa Bank program and looking at our statements and our fees. And they worked out an agreement where basically we're getting the exact same program that we've always had, and it will replace the PNC purchase card program that we're currently using today. Just to give you some, for instances, we just finished our 5th year. The first 4 years ranged rebates anywhere from $13,500 to almost $28,000. We have not seen the 20 reimbursement. We usually get it at the end of this month, but I expect it to be $25,000 range, much as we've been getting the last year. We should be seeing the same. We are at the risk of acceptability, but since it's a visa, our expectations are we're not going to run into issues in terms of acceptability by the merchants and the people that are currently allowing us to use the card. So we hope the program continues to grow. But since the beginning, our request to Harper Bank was to make it seamless financially to us and operationally as much as possible. Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, Councilmember Boyer.
One more question, just for the why is it logistically important to have a local bank?
Well, from a broader economic perspective, a local bank helps all the businesses in the city. And so we want to encourage that presence. Logistically, we can go to Perryville and Aberdeen if we absolutely have to, and we have been doing since the branch closed. But it's more of a support for the local business community and residential community that they have a local bank presence so that they're not put out too much.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. DeHorty? Thank you very much, Mr. Horty, for your explanation.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to hand this back off to council to deliberate. I just wanted also to let council know that not only obviously is Hartford Bank local in our city of Havre de Grace, but they also, in case you're wondering if they can handle the magnitude of our city finances, they also are the city of Aberdeen's bank. So we will not be their first city account. So they do have experience working with cities. So we're very happy to move away from PNC and go to a local bank. So, okay, thank you very much, Mr. Doherty. Council, further questions or comments on this resolution? Okay, Council, I'm going to call the roll. I'm going to call the roll on Council Resolution 2021-03. Councilmember Robertson? Aye. Councilmember Ringsacker?
Yes.
Council President Glenn?
Yes.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Zinner?
Yes.
Councilmember Boyer?
Yes.
By roll call vote of 6-0 in the affirmative, Council Resolution 2021-03 concerning the purchasing card accounts for city operations is approved by council. Thank you very much, council. Item number 13, ordinances. This evening we have no ordinances. Item 14, business. We have no old business. Item 15, new business. We do have several items of new business. We have A through F, so sit tight. So we're going to start off with some budget amendments for different areas of the city's budget, and I'm going to hand this over to Councilmember Robertson. Good evening, Councilmember Robertson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Budget Amendment 2021-05, critical areas.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Robertson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Ringsacker. Questions or comments on the budget amendment? Councilmember Robertson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for the edification of the folks watching at home, this budget amendment deals with the special taxing district for critical areas and the need for some maintenance and upkeep on the living shoreline. So if you don't know or if you're not aware, there's a special taxing district for all the areas that are deemed critical areas in the city, which produce a pot of money, a fund for projects exactly in the character of what's being requested by the Department of Public Works here. So I think that this is appropriate.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Robertson, for your explanation. Any other questions or comments by council? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Budget Amendment 2021-05 carries 6-0 in the affirmative. Thank you very much, council. Hold on one second. Okay, we're good. We're gonna go to item number B, budget amendment
You
two.
want to read it to the record?
Oh, that's what I was thinking of. I've just had this like brain pause for a second, like that's what I needed. Thanks, Council President. Councilmember Robertson, would you read the transfer numbers into the record?
Certainly. In the from column, account number 01-0001-49-00, fund transfers, critical area, $36,600. In the to column, account number 01-1251-7084, critical area remediation, $36,600.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Robertson. Mr. Doherty, does it seem to be correct to you? Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much, Mr. Doherty. Okay, thank you, Councilmember Robertson. Proceed with item B, please. Budget Amendment 2021-06.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Budget Amendment 2021-06, legal fees.
Second.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Robertson, seconded by Councilmember Martin. This is 2021-06 budget amendment regarding legal fees. Questions or comments? Councilmember Robertson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, just for the edification of the folks watching at home, this budget amendment deals with the legal fees that were incurred during the bond process when we went to the bond market a few months ago to get the $15 million for the water projects. This is not to be confused with our own attorney's fees. This is the bond fees that, it's like a group of folks that go to a bond board, and the bond board has an attorney, and you have to pay that attorney's fees or our portion of that attorney's fees for the bond bill. So this is just us paying for the work that those folks did.
Councilmember Robertson, thank you very much for the explanation. Any other further questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Budget Amendment 2021-06 carries 6-0 in the affirmative. Councilmember Robertson, would you like to read the transfer numbers into the record?
Sure. In the from column, account number 09-0001-49-27, DHCD bond proceeds, $194,300. In the to column, account number 09-1232-6061, legal fees, bond issuance, $194,300.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Robertson. Okay, we're going to go to item C, Budget Amendment 2021-07 regarding the Susquehanna Hose Company. Councilmember Robertson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Budget Amendment 2021-07, Susquehanna Hose Company.
Second.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Robertson, seconded by the Council President. This is for Budget Amendment 2021-07. Questions or comments on the budget resolution? Councilmember Robertson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, for the edification of those watching, the Susquehanna Hose Company, for folks that don't know, is a volunteer organization, and the city supports them. There are other government bodies that support them as well. And they were in need of additional funding for some insurance costs. So this is basically helping them by providing reimbursement for the insurance costs for this year.
Thank you, Councilmember Robertson, for the explanation. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Budget Amendment 2021-07 regarding Susquehanna Hose Company carries 6-0 in the affirmative. Councilmember Robertson, would you like to present the transfer numbers?
Well, certainly. In the from column, account number 01-0001-41-01, real property taxes, $30,500. In the to column, account number 01-1131-6501, additional Susquehanna Hose Company contributions, $30,500.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilmember Robertson. Well done, sir. We're going to move to item D, a budget amendment, 2021-08, Havre de Grace Green Team, and, my apologies one more time, Councilmember Robertson.
No worries.
Sorry about that.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Budget Amendment 2021-08 for the Havre de Grace Green Team.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Robertson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Zinner. This is Budget Amendment 2021-08, Havre de Grace Green Team. Questions or comments? Councilmember Robertson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, just to let everybody know, this is basically a zero-sum transfer. This is to help with the new contract that the Havre de Grace Green Team is procuring for their compost and their food waste program. We're taking funds that we're basically saving from the trash collections and applying them so that they get this program and hopefully can grow it more and save us even more money. I'll let Councilmember Boyer talk a little bit about that with the Green Team.
Councilmember Boyer.
Thank you. This started off as a pilot program. You've heard me talk about it for the last couple of months. It has proved to be extremely successful. So successful that last week, all of the bins were filled a couple of days before it was to be picked up, and we had to go find another bin in order to fill it. So in order for that to be filled. So it's definitely taken off. It's something that the community supports. And the Green Team would like to extend the contract for an additional 6 months. It was originally a 6-month pilot program, proved highly successful. Want to continue it for another 6 months. And the Green Team is looking forward to working with the administration to find ways to make this more sustainable for us in the long haul, because it is something that we would like to expand to other parts of the community to make it easier for people for the disposal of their food waste. So again, thank you very much, Havre de Grace, for participating in this program. It's wonderful to live in a community that cares that much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Boyer. Thank you. Any further questions or comments on this budget transfer? Okay, here comes the vote for Budget Amendment 2021-08 regarding the Havre de Grace Green Team. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Budget Amendment 2021-8 carries 6-0 in the affirmative. And Councilmember Robinson, one more time, would you like to read those numbers into the record, please?
Certainly. In the from column, account number 01-1244-6125, contractual services, trash collection, $700. In the to column, account number 01-2332-6259, Havre de Grace Green Team, $700.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Robertson. Everything good? All right. All right, with all the transfers, Renee, right? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. DeHorty. Thank you, Councilmember Robertson, Chair of the Finance Committee. Okay, excellent. We're going to go to item E, letter of support from the Havre de Grace City Council for House Bill 390 regarding University of Maryland Hartford Memorial Hospital closure, economic impact study. And we're going to hand this off to the council president for the introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion to introduce a letter of support from the Havre de Grace City Council for House Bill 390 regarding the University of Maryland Hartford Memorial Hospital closure and the need for economic impact study.
Second.
I have a motion by Council President, seconded by Councilmember Martin. Questions or comments? Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This has been a huge hot-button item for the city of Havre de Grace. This council gets numerous questions from time to time on the repurposing of the hospital. And therefore, I'd like to take this opportunity to read into the record the letter that's being submitted in support of House Bill 390. Madam Chair and the honorable members of the Health and Government Operations Committee, the Havre de Grace City Council supports House Bill 390. If passed, the University of Maryland Institute for Government Service and Research will conduct a study to quantify the economic impact of the closure of Hartford Memorial Hospital will have on the city of Havre de Grace and create a revitalization plan. In April of 2020, the Maryland Healthcare Commission voted to close Hartford Memorial Hospital in Havre de Grace and open a freestanding medical facility in Aberdeen. Hartford Memorial Hospital is located at 501 South Union Avenue and sits on a 1.37 acre property in the heart of historic Havre de Grace. As the city's top employer, Hartford Memorial Hospital not only provides the community with healthcare needs, it also serves as an economic generator. Inevitably, its closure will have an impact on small businesses, employment, and home ownership in Havre de Grace. However, the extent of this impact is currently unknown. In addition to creating an economic impact study, the passage of this legislation would also mean the creation of a revitalization plan for the city of Havre de Grace, consistent with the city's current comprehensive plan. This revitalization plan would serve the local government and the citizens as a roadmap for the best use of the property and how to plan for the future. As the city enters into a transition period between the current hospital closure and when the property enters the commercial real estate market, I believe an economic impact study and revitalization plan conducted by a third party is needed now more than ever. On behalf of the citizens of Havre de Grace, we respectfully request the committee give House Bill 390 a favorable report. And in addition, the initial hearing was held today, and for anybody that wants to look and watch the hearing, you could go to the following link: https://www.youtube.com/watch?V equals capital F5 capital U capital G dash capital R capital U OV in lowercase capitalized TY ampersand feature equals youtu.be. And you go in there, and what I would recommend is you go to about 1 hour and 7 minutes, and that will start this portion of House Bill 390, that portion of the hearing. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Council President, thank you very much for your comments. Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Martin.
I'd like to take this time to thank both delegates Lasante and Johnson for putting this bill forward and championing the city of Havre de Grace.
Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Ring-Sager.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask that web URL be available online on the city website attached to tonight's meeting minutes?
Yes. Chief of Staff just indicated that wouldn't be a problem. We can do that.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Yeah, I did have the opportunity today to join several witnesses, Ms. Quisenberry, our Economic Development Director, Mr. Shane Grimm, our Planning Director, Mr. Ed Garano, who is the Vice President of the Havre de Grace Alliance, also a lifelong realtor, spent most of his life in the realty business, and I actually testified too. So anyway, I think that it went good. Obviously, there's opposition to it. I mean, you would think, why would there be opposition to economic revitalization plan when you pull out one of the biggest buildings of our city? But you know, anything that slows down the train, you know, nobody wants it to happen. So I did recognize and indicate to the committee today as a whole that the city of Havre de Grace does not have the political pool that the hospital has with all their money and their connections throughout the county. And so, but you know, we'll see. Maybe delegates that can see this for what it is will make the right vote and move this out of committee and put it down for a general floor vote. So it's important, though. It's important because, as I made it clear to the delegation, this hospital was founded over 100 years ago by Havre Grace citizens. And the citizens that started that hospital, the first hospital in Harford County, never dreamed it would be anything else but or ever go anywhere. And years later, many decades later, University of Maryland came in and they bought the hospital, or they took it over, and then they want to move it, and they'll profit, and then they refinanced the building to the hilt. They're going to profit off of the land. The Maryland Healthcare Commission let them move, and in our eyes, the most fairest thing, since the state's allowing this to happen from a state entity like the University of Maryland, in our eyes, the best thing to do would be to help us figure out the best use for that property that would coincide with the direction the city's heading in, especially with our comprehensive plan. So that's how we view it. And I'm very grateful for the council taking up this letter of support. I hope everyone finds it in their, conscious to support this letter, because, we have always been unified moving forward with the hospital and our decisions. And so, like I said, Council President, thanks for reading that into the record. And we'll hope, our delegation, Delegate Johnson, Delegate Lasani, who are sponsoring it, we hope that they can move this through their committee and out onto the General Assembly. So, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now, my concern here is that we still have not heard from or to my knowledge, from the Cushman-Wakefield study that was done. And is there any support to have this and force the Cushman-Wakefield study to be presented so that the group that's determining the economic impact also has that information that was collected, and if there would be any bearing, if it would push us to a better direction, or in other words, not keep one group in the dark continually.
Mr. Mayor, I can answer that.
Go ahead, Councilman.
We got some PowerPoint slides late today, and I did get them out to council right before the meeting. And as I watched the hearing today, Chairman Pendergast did say that we needed the full-blown Cushman-Wakefield study and that it needed to be given to the city leadership. And so we'll see how that plays out. But we did get PowerPoint slides, very late today, probably right before 5 o'clock. So, we'll see how it plays out. But she did make a point that we needed a copy of that study. So,
Thanks, Council President. Councilmember Boyer?
Just to jump off of that, that study now is several years old. And a lot of things have changed in the past couple of years here in Havre Grace. So while it would be great to have that study so that we have a perspective of the thought pattern and just the information they were using to start, I think having this economic impact study is very important, because we can't use just the Wakefield study. We need additional information in order to make smart decisions for our community.
absolutely.
Yes. I'm at the juncture now where the Cushman and Wakefield study, just as Councilmember Boyer said, you're talking about a study that's almost 4 years old, and a lot has changed. You can argue a lot can change in an economic, best use. That's a best use study, but the only problem with the Cushman-Wakefield study is we actually never received, the city of Havre Grace never received the actual full report. We saw several years ago some slideshows of it, interpretive slides. But, I think it's just a red herring, to tell you the truth. I think everyone's seen it, except for us. I think that's almost, it's the comical point. It's actually funny. Because even Delegate Riley said today, "Oh, I saw the plan. Looks wonderful for Havre Grace." Like, you've seen it? Well, we haven't seen it. So I almost think Upper Chesapeake did it on purpose. At this point, we don't care anymore about the Cushman-Wakefield study. We just want the General Assembly to authorize this economic impact study. Because I said, the state did this to us. The state took over the hospital. with the University of Maryland, and it's part of the state of Maryland, University of Maryland. They can always argue it's not, but it is, okay? And then the state healthcare commission allowed them to close down. So you're talking about a hospital that the people built over 100 years ago. And they're doing it. So this is not a private business dealing with the government. It's not a local issue. This is a global issue of the state of Maryland. So again, this is why we want this study to be done, because we want an outside study done, not a study done by a company that Upper Chesapeake's paying. That's why at this point, Cushman Wakefield study is, it's inconsequential now. But for some reason, Upper Chesapeake's told a lot of people, I don't know why they told, but they told a lot of people they've given us a report. Isn't that right, Council President?
Absolutely.
So everywhere you go, oh, I heard they gave you the report. No, we never received it. I don't know why would they say that to people. That's dishonest. But, we have never gotten the report. So at this point, we don't want, it'd be nice to get it, but we want that economic impact study, and we want the state of Maryland to help us with that, since this negative impact was created by the state of Maryland, and I'm hoping the General Assembly understands that and helps the city of Havre de Grace and our 15,000 citizens and the 20-some odd thousand citizens in the surrounding area, to figure out what to do with this. And as I told the delegation today, we're not a city of many buildings, we're a city of a building. And that a building was the hospital. The biggest building is the biggest centerpiece, and the businesses that go around that building and the zoning laws that created over the decades were all based on that building being there. And so all this was communicated to these delegates, and hopefully they'll make the right decision. And I've been in communication with Delegate Johnson after the meeting, and he told me, he felt the hearing went well, and he received some questions from his fellow delegates. And he also has a couple more cracks at it, he said, when he gets to subcommittee and stuff like that. So hopefully, our delegates at work down there in Annapolis will do the right thing for the city of Havre de Grace.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think last year at the testimony, Lon Sheldon did state that he was going to give us a copy of the Cushman Wakefield study in near term. So, and again, we're a year past and we still didn't have it. So, you're right, it is outdated, but it kind of lays the framework as to why didn't he give the city of Havre de Grace a copy of that study, and hopefully that gives a favorable report in moving forward with the economic impact study for the city of Havre de Grace, because it's needed, it's warranted, and it's just the right thing to do. So hopefully they make the right decisions.
Yeah, I do agree that it is an old study of 4 years, but it took a lot of time for them to gather up about 40 task groups to talk about what citizens wanted, what they saw as a possibility. And I think that historical information, whether it's outdated or still has viability, would be valuable as a preface to whatever the University of Maryland research group could start with. My only wish that they would come forward with that information, and then the group that would be doing the economic impact study could sort through that and evaluate the important points versus maybe something that's not possible, maybe something that would be a good mix for the city based on citizen feedback and what they would like to see.
Well, we certainly like to have it. So.
Time will tell.
Yeah, like I said, again, it's, I appreciate that there are a handful of our county delegation in Annapolis right now, Delegate Lasani and Delegate Johnson, who are fighting for the city of Havre de Grace, So I always give credit where credit's due, and credit's due there. So let's hope that they come through and again, that the General Assembly approves a spending measure to allow the study to go through. And this study will not be lost in some drawer. This study will be held in our hands and said, this is how this property should be repurposed. And this is how the property should be repurposed to fit the direction and the character of our city, So there's, a lot of good things. There's a lot of good things that could go there. Of course, there's some things that could go there that would be disastrous. So That's what we're just trying to protect ourselves from.
Well, the other key takeaway is Delegate Lasante and Delegate Johnson aren't the only two delegates down in Annapolis. And it's my hope that all the other delegates step up and go to bat for the city of Havre de Grace in this House bill. So I'm actually awaiting to see how the vote goes.
Yeah, I hope they do too. That'd be good. Any other questions or comments before I call the vote on this letter of support? Council, I'm going to do a roll call on this support letter. Councilmember Ringsager,
Yes.
Councilmember Robertson,
Yes.
Councilmember Zinner,
Yes.
Councilmember Boyer,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Council President Glenn.
Yes.
By roll call vote of 6-0 in the affirmative. Letter of support from Havre de Grace City Council for House Bill 390 regarding University of Maryland Hartford Memorial Hospital closure economic impact study is adopted and approved by this council. Council, we will have this letter finalized and ready for your signatures. If you can stop by one day, the next couple of days and sign it, we'll get it done. Thank you very much. We're going to go to item F, special events. Mr. Seipolt.
Good evening, Mayor, and good evening, Council. I have two events this evening for your consideration. The first is the Havre de Grace Ice Festival. This show is sponsored by the Havre de Grace Alliance. It is a two-day event located in downtown Havre de Grace. The Alliance wishes to begin setting up on Saturday, March the 13th, for most of the day, from about 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Immediately following setup, the event would start on that Saturday from 3 and run from 3 until 8 p.m. It would then resume on Sunday, March 14th, from 12 until 4. Cleanup would occur immediately thereafter, and they anticipate having everything cleaned up in the streets reopened, which I'll get into street closing in just a moment. The streets reopened at 6 p.m. In addition, they would like the upper portion of Washington Street at Congress Avenue through to St. John Street and including St. John Street at Franklin to be closed. Additionally, they would like a portion of Pennington Avenue from Lodge Lane across through to St. John's and from Franklin Street from Union to St. John's to be closed as well. So that would represent a similar to a First Friday type of event. They will have a beer garden incorporated into their event with proper permitting and staffing and perimeter controls as predicated by the Liquor Control Board. They also request the street closures and the rerouting of traffic during this time and for vendor setup. EMS will be present, as well as the Susquehanna Hose Company, as they will have vendor booths at this event. A COVID plan has been submitted and continues to stay under review and gets modified as is warranted through this changing COVID environment that we're in. The public works expenses are $368. Police expense is $7,458. They anticipate approximately 5,000 attendees over the two-day outdoor event. There is no rain date. Yeah, maybe snow.
Is that all the details, Mr. Seipolt? I mean,
That's all I care to, yes, that's
Okay.
really it. I can go into greater detail if you would
saving the
like.
rest for questions, right? Okay, I got you.
Right.
All right, thank you. Okay, council, the Ice Festival for March 13th and 14th, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve this event?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion approved by the council president, seconded by Councilmember Robertson. Questions or comments on the event? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Ice Festival, March 13th to 14th, 2021, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Saturday, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday in downtown Havre de Grace is approved 6-0 in the affirmative by council. Thank you very much. council. Thank you, Mr. Seipolt. The next event?
The second event this evening is the Maryland Bass Nation Trail Fishing Tournament, sponsored by the Maryland Bass Nation. This is a one-day event. It occurs at, it takes off and ends at Millard E. Tidings Memorial Park. It actually occurs throughout the Susquehanna River and Chesapeake Bay, where the fishing occurs. It would happen on Sunday, April the 11th, and begin at 6 a.m. The event would end at 3. There is no expenses on this event from both DPW and the police department. There is no rain date, and they anticipate approximately 65 participants. A COVID plan will be submitted 60 days prior to the event and adjusted accordingly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seipolt. Council, I have a motion to approve the Maryland Bass Nation Trail Fishing Tournament.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Ringsager, seconded by Councilmember Robertson. Questions or comments on this event? Councilmember Ringsager.
Mr. Mayor, I have notified the members of the Marina Commission about this event coming up. It's good that we're starting to get into the boating season. April's sort of a time frame where we don't get a lot of recreational boaters out there. So we can make use of the marina, and this is going to bring a significant amount of income in for both the launching fees and for the businesses downtown. And I actually do commend them on a very robust COVID plan that they do have included in here, and I really look forward to it.
Thank you very much, Councilmember
Thank you,
Ringsager.
sir.
Councilmember Boyer.
2 questions. First, in the last bass tournament, they were going to announce people as they departed. That's not going to occur at 6 o'clock in the morning, correct?
No, they usually don't do announcements for weigh-ins until the end of the tournament.
Okay. And
Only the shotguns start. I'm only kidding about that.
and the 65, we have room within that down the parking lot on the bottom for 65 boats, or is there a plan in place for other parking? For the
Well, I
trailers?
think in years past, they've parked in the swale as well as in the bottom, similar to where our other fishermen would park, any of our other boaters.
So there's enough for 65?
Pardon me?
There's enough parking for 65?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Any other questions, council, before I go for the vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Maryland Bass Nation Trail Fishing Tournament for April 11, 2021, 6 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at Tidings Memorial Park is approved by council 6-0 in the affirmative. Okay, that does it for special events. We're going to move on to director's reports, and I'll start off with the Director of Administration, Mr. Patrick Seipolt. Good evening, sir.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council, and good evening, citizens. Not a whole lot to comment on, but I will have a couple of items. First, congratulations to Officers Kill Savage and Matos. Welcome to Team Havre, Grace. Looking forward to working with you. There will be an administrative meeting on January 20th, which is tomorrow, beginning at 4 p.m. You can visit the city website to access the agenda and for call-in information. We do have a link set up. Primarily, the focus of most of the meeting will contain itself about planning issues, pain management clinics, streetscapes, and Havre Grace Heritage property discussions. That'll be the primary focus of that meeting. And something I failed to do at the last meeting was to give a shout out to the Susquehanna Hose Company for their help and support with the duck drop, and more importantly, the fireworks and getting the guys in off the barge. Also, our great neighbors, Vulcan, they not only assist us with any request that we make of them, but they do it with such a zeal and a desire to please us and really lend a hand. And so I just was remiss by not thanking them at the prior meeting, but it's never too late to give kudos where kudos is due. And then I also want to ask our citizens to please continue to monitor our website as well as other, like the health department website, as this vaccine continues to roll out. As we continue to go in through the various tiers, people become eligible for the vaccine. Don't delay, don't hesitate, call, get your appointment when the time comes. help those who need help getting to their appointments if need be, and making them aware. The vaccination program only works if we participate. And finally, for a full listing of all your events going on, because they are beginning to percolate a little bit, spring is just around the corner. Please visit our websites, explorehavertygrace.com, HDG Opera House, and havertygrace.org. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, Mr. Seipel. Appreciate it. We're going to go with Mr. Shane Grimm, our Director of Planning. Good evening, Mr. Grimm. What are you planning?
Well, lots of stuff everywhere. So, good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I just want to let you know this evening, a reminder that we do have the Board of Appeals convening this Thursday to hear the case for a conditional use for a healthcare facility, which is an assisted living facility at 550 Revolution Street. That was the former transitional housing facility that was for veterans, I believe. That was approved a number of years ago, and now it will be an assisted living facility. So that's at 6:30 p.m. And if citizens would like to participate in that, they can contact me and get their comments ahead of time, or we can get them the link to the Zoom meeting, and they can participate. And it's been running very smoothly. So I'd like to give a shout out to Jeff Thompson and Adam Rubchinsky for all that they do to keep that moving, and especially, I think I've said it before, but Mr. Packard and Mr. Ford, how well they've done with moving those meetings along, and very seamless. So I'd like to thank them for that. And also, I'd be remiss, want to thank Chris Ritchie, Deputy Director of Administration, for all the work he's done with COVID and our COVID protocols in the city, but more importantly, how diligently he worked over the weekend, sending emails to all of us to make sure that we had all the information so that we could sign up for our vaccines. I'm glad to announce that I will be getting my first shot tomorrow. So he's been doing a lot of work, as well as the rest of the administration, but just I don't think Chris gets enough credit for what he does for the city, and how knowledgeable he is, and all the expertise that he brings with him. So just thought that was important to note that. So that's all I have this evening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grimm. Any questions for Mr. Grimm? Thank you, sir. I'd like to welcome Ms. Erica Quisenberry Sturgill, Director of Economic Development. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'll be brief this evening. The Havre de Grace Economic Development Advisory Board will be meeting tomorrow. It'll be a virtual meeting. We meet at 4 p.m. It'll be available through the city's website for anyone who wants to log on to the YouTube channel to be able to see it. A number of us had the pleasure of dining in or picking up to-go orders from our newest restaurant in Havre de Grace, Water Street Seafood at 654 Water Street. They are bringing steamed crabs back to Havre de Grace, as well as a pretty great range of fresh seafood with a magnificent water view. They opened just last week, and they're already up to over 1,500 followers. So they're doing pretty good at getting the word out that they've opened. Since we are in the legislative session, there's a number of meetings relevant to economic development that are in the offing, including those of the Maryland Economic Development Association on January 22nd, which we'll be participating in, Maryland Municipal League, and Rural Maryland Council, as well as a few others, all of which have gone virtual this year, and we'll be attending those. And lastly, work on the Battery Island Brewing Company at 101 North Washington Street is progressing at a pretty astounding clip. We have numerous facade and tenant fit-out grant applications that are into the state from our various businesses in the Main Street District, but we've been experiencing a very definite lag for review of these various State Department of Housing and Community Development grants, because they're also dealing with EIDL and COVID grants and different programs that have come through as well, which have taken priority. So we are working in daily communications with our state representatives from DHCD to try and stay front of mind and get those pushed along for our downtown businesses who are still trying to make improvements to their structures during this time. We're very proud of some of the work that they're doing. Any questions about our grant programs that we're doing?
Council, any questions? Good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening. I'd like to call forward Mr. George DeHorty, our Director of Finance. Thank you, Mr. DeHorty. You're a busy man this evening. We appreciate you being here.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, and I'm working on trying to catch Mr. Ringsocker. First of all, I want to thank the council for their approval of all 4 budget amendments. It allows us to move forward without any delays or glitches and keep the city running. So thank you for your support for everything that we're trying to do. The current financial condition. The general fund is sitting at just over $6.8 million and is running about 1.76 ahead of budget. As has been reported, the beginning balance is sitting at just under 1.25 million ahead, which is the lion's share of that cause. Add to that salaries and benefits, which are currently running about $670,000 below budget expectations through the end of the calendar year. In addition, our real property taxes, we're running $138,700 ahead of what we expected through the constant yield program. We did spend a little of that tonight with one of the budget amendments, so that will go down a little bit. On the flip side, the income tax continues to be at a lag as it is throughout the state. We're currently running at about $440,000 behind schedule. We still do not yet know if this is timing or whether this is actual job losses and the like. We won't know that for several months, but we continue to monitor that. The water sewer fund is sitting at $1.8 million and has a $1.5 million increase for the year. The operating profit was over $1.65 million. Capital fees added another $1.4 million to that, and capital projects and debt service payments reduced it by $1.6 million. I do note that next month, don't be alarmed when this drops dramatically, but the wastewater treatment plant debt service payment is due on the 1st of February, so it will be before the next council meeting. So those numbers are anticipated to drop, and they will drop. In terms of the marina, we're also at pretty much our high water mark because now most of the slip fees for the upcoming boating season have been billed and collected. We're sitting at just over $1,135,000, a $211,000 increase so far year to date, and that will slowly wind down as we start having more expenses than we do revenue because most of the revenue now is in the door for the upcoming boating season. And that's the current situation and what you can expect. That debt payment is $1.7 million, just so you all know the order of magnitude if I didn't already say that. So, but it's all running just as we expect it to. With that, I'll open the floor to any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Doherty. Council, do you have any questions for the Director of Finance? Okay. Mr. Doherty, thank you very much for that report. Thank you. Okay, we'd like to call forward Mr. Tim Whitty, the Director of Public Works. Good evening, Mr. Whitty.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A little bit of an update here on some things. Gashies Creek, I know you saw the work out there on Gashies Creek. There's a 2-phase, as I explained before. The goal is to replace the bridge. It's narrow, and it's the culvert's old. Its life expectancies, it's towards the end there. So we have a 2-phase project. The first phase was to relocate the water line that was unfortunately constructed under the culvert. So we're in the process of doing that, and they've actually successfully directionally drilled and relocated the culvert outside the construction area for the bridge. They're tying it in. There's going to be a shutdown probably next week. We'll have to coordinate with the folks. The goal here is to put a temporary shutdown where we're going to disconnect the valve, put a valve in so that we can keep Oak Tree Drive residents in water while we reconnect the new pipeline to the rest of the system. And then the next phase of that is I've actually submitted plans to Baltimore Gas and Electric Company to have the gas line relocated. Once that's done, then we go ahead and proceed with bridge construction, probably going to be next year with that project. The 12-inch water main from Havre to Grace to Aberdeen. Plans are complete. Specifications, I did
review the plans today. I got the plans, gave a final check on the plans, specifications are ready to go, permits, and I'm going to put together an RFP today, or tomorrow. Try to get something posted in the next week or so to get that project under construction. The old Bay Lane Waterline project is at 90%. I should have those plans for final review this week, as well as the Green and Wilson Street projects also are coming due this week. Turn those around. Again, the goal was to try to get all this stuff out for request for proposals for construction in the February timeframe. Girard Street, there was an issue with the county as far as CBG money for funding for that flood prevention and drainage system. As I said before, the engineering plans are complete, and we're going to head with, we applied for the money. There was an issue with this county. They had recently lost the person that did their environmental assessments, and they've hired a contractor, and so we're moving ahead with that project. Hopefully in the next month or so, we hear something back and start getting that project moving as well to correct the drainage issues behind the yards and between the radio station and Pullet signs. The National Guard pump station, we did have a meeting. Patrick and I attended. We had some issues as far as trying to hold down costs on that project, and they're going to go ahead and take some of our suggestions and apply those. On the We're Living Shoreline project, we have a Zoom meeting scheduled for January 27th. Basically, we're having all the reviewers come together, EPA, Department of Environment, DNR, the folks that oversee the wetland grasses, get together, go over the plans, address comments, keep it moving forward. So it's going to be a big, long meeting on the 27th at about 2 p.m. So we're going to be sitting there for about 2 hours going over these plans. It's kind of like the new way of, unfortunately, doing things to get things done with the COVID. So there are, I think, some challenges. Really, it's the SAVs are the big challenge here. We did have Morgan put together the survey, and hopefully she'll be able to attend the meeting. She has some personal issues she's trying to deal with. But so that's going to be a big push here. The vast majority of the folks are in favor of it. Like I say, there's some questions from Environmental Protection Agency, but the big thing is the SAVs and how we, what do we do about what we're taking out and how we're going to restore those, the SAVs that we're removing when we construct the project. But I think it's going to come out very well. I'm very positive about the impacts on that. The Francis Street sewer, we have those plans that are at 50%. I have a meeting to go over tomorrow with RK&K. Really, it is about the construction of additional. There's some lengths of pipe that there's like a 600 or 700 foot length of pipe that we need another manhole where to put that, and try to work in. There's some issues that we want to try to address. Again, Patrick's probably alluded to this on a number of occasions. Our construction costs in these projects are coming out extremely high. I don't know whether it's to do with the COVID, whether people are very busy, but we have to sort of kind of really take the time to really engineer these projects to hold down the construction costs, and that's what this meeting is about tomorrow, just to do what we need to do as far as design and moving forward, to kind of remove as many unknowns as we can about the project. There's issues because we don't have the plans just aren't available for this project. It was kind of, I don't know how it was built, but we couldn't find any plans, and we're trying to remove the unknowns, give the contractors more information so we can get a better price on the project. Commerce Street is moving into final engineering, as I talked before, and one of the things we've we had a money set aside for about $60,000 for fire hydrant replacement. There's a number of fire hydrants that we have throughout the city. The valves don't work on them, and they're so old that we can't find replacement parts. So we have about $60,000 that we're setting aside for fire hydrant replacement, with the idea that we were going to go internally and be able to do that with our crews. Unfortunately, with the water main breaks that we've been having, we're averaging a couple a week. And then services we're just having a lot of issues with the system. And they're just not being able to get to it, so we've contracted that out. We're gonna have a contractor come in here and just start replacing those fire hydrants. And finally, with the paving, BG&E, we got, I think, Stokes, Franklin, Warren Street, and portions of, was there another, I can't remember the other street, but we're kind of been put that on hold with the temperatures. I think we're gonna, if we get a stretch of warmer weather in the next couple months, we're gonna get back on to get the paving with the BG&E projects resurface and get that projects finished. I know we've getting calls from people, I guess. It is kind of rough riding over the trenches, and we've been getting a lot of calls from folks. When are you gonna get done? And it's just the temperatures, and that plays a big role in obviously with asphalt. If you put it down in bad conditions, and it's just gonna come up and peel up. So we've got to make sure we get our money's worth. Temperatures are right for us to complete the projects. But we will hopefully within the next couple months, when we get past February into March, we'll be able to get the paving started back up again and get those issues finished. That's pretty much all I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Boyer.
Just in relationship to SAVs, when I worked at the Army Environmental Center at APG, APG has a large SAV program. Have you reached out to them, or do you
We
need
have not. I
anything?
guess that's the first I've heard of it. So yeah, we would like to. Maybe we will talk to them. I would appreciate that information, contact information.
Yeah,
if you could get that
I'll
to me.
try to get that for you.
I'd appreciate that.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Whitty? Mr. Whitty, thank you very much for
All
the update on everything. We really appreciate it. Thanks for
All
all
right,
you do.
thank you.
You betcha.
Have a good night.
I'd like to call forward the Chief of Police, Chief Walter. It's good to have you back, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. It's actually very good to be back. I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody's well wishes and everything like that. So thank you very much. I hope everybody
The
had a good
captains did a
holiday
really good job filling in, but they weren't quite as charming, so.
season. Well, I don't know about that, but they're handsome fellows. So, I do want to thank you, Mayor, for swearing in our 2 new officers. I'm definitely looking forward to them. We do need them. For sure. So I do appreciate you taking the time to swear them in. I did feel bad because, of them not having a formal graduation ceremony from their academy, and I know their academy also felt bad about it as well. But as I said, we are looking forward to March. I think they're going to have it in a much bigger venue where there's plenty of seating and social distancing. So that would be good for them. The other thing I wanted to mention was we're also very fortunate. Sergeant Dan Petz, nominated one of his officers, Patrolman First Class Jay Cooper, for the National Law Enforcement Memorial Fund. Now, again, this is a national nomination, and he nominated him because Corporal Cooper is an 18-year veteran with the Havre Police Department. And in that time period, he has volunteered to work at the Harbor of Grace Enhanced Recovery Center, and this is a national wellness recovery center for first responders, both law enforcement, fire, EMS, that type of thing. Jay Cooper is on their support peer group, which is really, really great. He also helps working with first responders who are having problems. As I'm going to quote Sergeant Petz, he says, as a volunteer, PFC Cooper advises and becomes a trusted ally for first responders that he doesn't even know in their darkest hours. And excuse me, I keep calling him Corporal Cooper, but PFC Cooper has done a fantastic job, and he was recognized for helping peers, but he was also recognized for an incident that occurred in August. And it was around the middle of August. He responded to a call for service where a 10-year-old autistic child had left the house, had wandered out of the house in the middle of the night, and the parents didn't know that when they discovered that he was missing. PFC Cooper was able to locate the young man. He had actually gotten on one of the boats that was off of one of the piers along the water. Jay was able to scale a fence. He was able to get on the boat, and then also the boy trusted him enough to come off of the boat. So that could have had very bad consequences, and Jay did a fabulous job with that. He really, really did. So the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund wanted to also recognize him not only for his commitment to his peers as first responders, but also his commitment to the community and the citizens in the community. So while that was considered their November nomination, we actually weren't notified about it till January. But nonetheless, I thought it was something that really did deserve recognition. The other thing I wanted to mention is this time of the year is always the annual Polar Bear Plunge for Special Olympics Maryland. And this is actually their 25th anniversary. But after a lot of thought and a lot of lamenting, that's such a big fundraiser for Special Olympics. And there's so many people that Special Olympics Maryland didn't feel safe with the COVID-19 having it at Sandy Point State Park. So with that being said, they decided to come up with virtual plunging. So of course, Havre de Grace Police Department has a team, and we will be doing some virtual plunging. Our virtual plunging will actually be this Saturday at 10 a.m. We have the assistance of the hose company, and I was watching the weather, and it looks like it's going to be chilly once again. So, and I do appreciate the mayor also has signed up to do the virtual plunge, so I do appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So the reason why I tell you this is that even though we're not actually dipping our toes into Sandy Point State Park, we will be getting wet. It will be live streamed. And again, the hose company is going to help us out with that. So I'm not sure if it's going to be hoses or what that's going to be, dunking boots. I'm not really sure until that morning how we're going to be plunging. But we do ask people if they are so inclined to go on our website, go to our page, our Havre de Grace Police Department, and make any donations. But even still, if you want to go to another police agencies or fire or whatever and donate to them, we would ask you to do that if you're so inclined to do that. So right now, that's going to be my report.
If we donate by check, who do we write a check to?
Special Olympics Maryland. And if you want to drop it off at the police station, we will make sure that they do receive that check.
Any other questions for the chief? All right, Chief, I'll see you Saturday morning.
Very good. Bring a towel.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again, sir. So I'll see you there too. Thank you.
You're welcome, Chief.
Couldn't we get the theme from Chips? Couldn't we get the theme from Chips? Chips? Yeah.
He's too young to remember that.
Yeah.
Chips, man. That's
Eric Estrada.
all right. Okay, we're gonna move on to item 17, business from the mayor. Couple items real quick. First, I want to talk about the passing of a former city council member and a person that many longtime Havre de Gracians knew of and many people knew well. And that was the passing of former council member Richard Tome. Council President, you have comments about him?
Well, I mean,
You normally have comments, so I don't want to step on anything. Were you going to say anything about Richard Tome?
just a little bit.
Okay, but I just want to leave it at that. A lot of people knew him, knew that his heart was dedicated to Havre de Grace. I only knew him for a couple years before he moved to Florida. He actually signed my petition for the Masonic Lodge, actually. And he kind of got me involved in some things at Havre de Grace about 15, 16 years ago. And he is responsible for the duck drop. I confirmed that with the hose company, and they said it was his brainchild. So, the impact that a man can have on a community, even though he hasn't lived here in a few years. But, I just want to ask the council and my directors here if you could join me in a momentary moment of silence for Councilmember Richard Tome. Thank you. COVID numbers. So Hartford County's finally cracked the 10,000 case number since the COVID outbreak back in March. We're now, as of today, 10,396 cases in Harford County. Havre de Grace, running total since last March is 674 cases. We're about 140 cases since the beginning of the year. I know everybody's familiar with the numbers. I know it's the very common talking point with people. And I know a lot of people are getting vaccination shots already. And the vaccine's here. It's a matter of weeks, if not a month, before most people will get their vaccination shot. But I just want to warn people, we're not out of the woods yet. I just found out that a good friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, both his parents caught COVID about 8 days ago. And they're both in the hospital currently right now. They got admitted tonight. They have pneumonia. So, you know, I pray for them. I pray they're okay. But, you know, you hate to hear something like this happen so close to getting a vaccination shot. And so, you know, wear the mask, social distance, wash your hands, just be courteous of your actions around others. And we're very close. You know, I hate to say the old cliche, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, because I know a couple friends of mine got their vaccination shots today. So just hang in there, everybody, and you know, we'll get out of this. But just please be mindful that, you know, hey, look, the reality is this: even if we all get vaccinated, COVID's still going to be around for a while. It takes the time to eradicate a virus out of a population. So just be mindful, protect yourself, protect the ones you care about. So, make sure I got everything I want to talk about here. Oh, yes. Please go to the city website or the city social media Facebook page if you want any up-to-date information on vaccination. We're updating it, up-to-date, current information as it comes out from the Harford County Health Department. You can go to the City of Havre de Grace website and find links for registering for the vaccine. Go to harfordcountyhealth.com directly if you wish, and like I say, every day it's getting updated with new information. So if you have any questions about registering for vaccinations, go to city webpage or go to Harford County Health Department, and they'll give you all the up-to-date information. So just a little commentary. You know, it's no secret, I'm a history guy, you know, so tomorrow's an inauguration of the 46th President of the United States, so, you know, and I teach American government, so this is kind of a big deal to me and my students right now. You know, and I told all the kids, you know, things to watch for, you know, the inauguration. Over the weekend, I had a birthday and turned 38, and just, what's so funny about that? Anyway, okay, so I had a birthday. And so my wife said...
You were never good at math.
My wife asked me, what do you want to do for your birthday? And I was like, you know, I was feeling kind of down. I'm like, you know, I always get real sad when I see my fellow Americans arguing and bickering so much about different things. And I said, you know, I really want to go and take the kids and go to Philadelphia. To me, that's like my spiritual place. I love being in Independence Hall and standing next to Liberty Bell and Ben Franklin's grave and, you know, the Revolutionary War Museum and the DeGraff House where Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, and go get a cheesesteak. Like, to me, that's like my favorite thing to do, is just walk around that area of Philadelphia and get like re-inspired. And so, you know, one of my favorite Americans is Ben Franklin. He was so smart and so witty, you know, as they called him, Dr. Franklin. And he has a distinction of being one of only two people who both signed the Declaration of Independence and U.S. Constitution. The other one being Roger Sherman from Connecticut. And so he was in the 1787 Constitutional Convention. And real famous story. It was actually used about a year ago from Congress, but a real famous story. I knew the story for many years. You know, they locked themselves up, and nobody really knew what was going on inside Independence Hall during the Constitutional Convention. Very secretive. But finally, when they finished the Constitution on September 17, 1787, and the story has it, Ben Franklin walked outside of Independence Hall, and one of the members, a man in a crowd, yelled out and said, "Dr. Franklin, what do we have, a republic or a monarchy?" And he said, "A republic, if you can keep it." Now, when I first heard that quote years ago when I read it in a book when I was young, I thought Franklin was being snarky, almost kind of being, you know, maybe we should have had a monarchy, but here's your republic. I don't think you're going to be able to keep it kind of deal. And so I kind of dismissed it. Maybe Franklin was a monarchy man. I don't know. He spent a lot of time in England. But the older I get, I realize what Franklin was saying. Franklin was a man of the world. He was very educated. And, you know, America's not the first time. The American Revolution isn't the first time that a country has risen up and overthrown the current situation of monarchy. History is loaded with examples of, you know, deposed kings. But Franklin knew that in most cases, when people scratch their heads, they always default back to the king because that's what they know, a monarchy. A lot less stress, a lot less trouble. Just one person and that's it. So I guess now, you know, when you reflect about what Franklin said 231 years ago, a republic if you can keep it, because he knew better than anybody, a republic takes work. It takes a lot of work. It takes, most importantly, the willingness to compromise and to respect your neighbors. It takes compassion, and it takes the key ingredient of a love of liberty and respect for the people you live with. And I think now I understand what Franklin meant more about that quote. He wasn't being snarky when he said, if you could keep it. I think he was taking his 78 years of knowledge at that moment and said to the man in the audience, this is what I know to be true about human inclination. So good luck, he basically said. And I think sometimes when we get frustrated with our politicians, because we keep saying we want our politicians to do the right things, maybe sometimes it's up to us to do the right thing. Instead of waiting for them to act, the people should act, because we're the ones that put them in office. And if we don't like what politicians do, we should always send them a message that we demand them to work together in the spirit of democracy and live up to Ben Franklin's words, if you can keep it. So the 46th President of the United States is getting sworn in tomorrow. And as I told my students today in class, behold the greatest thing you'll ever see every 4 years, other than the Olympics. You're going to see the peaceful transfer of power, and that's what makes us Americans. So I wish the 46th President of the United States all the luck. The same way I wish the pilot of my airplane not to crash my plane. So when the pilot does good, we all do good. When the President does good, we all do good. So to the 46th President of the United States and the peaceful transfer of power. With that, those are my comments. I'd like to go to council members' enter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, and citizens at home. So I prepared some remarks because I have some pretty pointed comments I'd like to make. Much has passed since we last were here a mere 2 weeks and 1 day ago. The year 2021 arrived with vengeance for me. Okay. All right, thank you. So the year 2021 arrived with a vengeance for me and not with the hope I imagined for the new year. So here I sit, grieving the loss of the pet who saw me through the 100 days my husband spent in rehab over the past year. With news early Friday morning, he was euthanized because it was deemed he could not be rehomed due to aggressive behavior, which started to exhibit in May. Then on Saturday, I found out about the death of one of my beloved Sir Optimus sisters, Pat Keene, who I've known for 17 years and who sponsored me for that organization. So I want to offer my condolences to my fellow Sir Optimus and Pat's family. Pat was remarkably positive, kind, full of energy into her 80s, and a friend to all she knew. We never hung up the phone without saying, I love you. She worked tirelessly for the empowerment of young girls into successful women and was a forever presence in the annual art show. Then on Sunday, I found out my cousin's husband succumbed to COVID-19. He was diagnosed 2 days after Christmas and was in the hospital until his passing. A prelude to these sad events was the horrifying Capitol riot on June 6th, when last we met, January 6th was on my mind, and I was hoping there would be no violence and that any counter-protesters would stay away due to some of the violence that was displayed in December. I read about the groups who were applying for permits, not so much for who they were, but the numbers that were being projected. I thought that I was seeing numbers that appeared too low, considering the pre-publicity and the president's following, but took faith that the appropriate security would be in place. I believe that the Capitol would be heavily ringed with several levels of security. So while I feared there would be violence, I was not prepared for watching the breach of the Capitol in real time. My first hint of something wrong was while the speakers were challenging the Arizona vote, there was a banner on my screen saying the Capitol was on lockdown, but then it disappeared. So I thought maybe I was not reading correctly, or that this was a communication, a precautionary communication step. Not a few minutes later, the breach was in full view, along with the Confederate flag in the Capitol. The anger in some, the hateful behavior and looks on the faces of others involved was startling to me. And I was just beginning of the tears and heartache I would be experiencing before we even got to day 15 of the new year. In those faces and the shouts to kill our elected leaders through all sorts of means, I started to look back on my own life, asking, wondering, when did threats of killing become the de facto action of so many? How the choice to go to bed with so much hate and waking up the same way became so commonplace in the lives of these individuals. I question what this must be doing to their souls and psyches. I was raised Catholic and attended Catholic schools my entire education, though over the years I am no longer considered a practicing Catholic in traditional terms. I have with me, I'm going to try to get this, a photograph of my first grade class at St. James Grade School in Philadelphia. We were 45 strong in that class, with 4 classmates of color. St. James was the parish for a West Philadelphia neighborhood that included the University of Pennsylvania. Possibly some of my classmates were children of professors or students there. I knew nothing of segregated schools, loved attending my school, and know that I did not see any differences among my classmates. Maybe at that young age, and the kindness and faith of my first grade nun, I unconsciously formed my belief that none of us was different from each other. There is truth in that experience. I will always be grateful for that lesson learned so early in my formative years, since after moving to other schools, I would not encounter a black student classmate until my sophomore year in high school. Let's see. I firmly believe that loving role models can stop learned biases and teach us to love each other with the true belief we are all created equal in God's eyes and in our democracy. This gives me hope for our future as a country with young minds that are being influenced to accept our multinational and multiracial population without prejudice and hate. In order for our nation to heal, we must condemn the actions of those who participated in this riot and the networks of support for those who wanted to attend but could not. Yesterday, we celebrated Martin Luther King's birthday, so I would like to close my comments with his words. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. As well as thank the incoming Biden administration for the show of compassion and acknowledging the 400,000 lives lost to COVID in the ceremony that was televised around 5:30 this evening. And tomorrow we'll awake to a new government, new president, and wish everything that's good for the United States going forward, and success for the new administration over the next 4 years.
Thank you very much for your comments, Councilmember Zinner. I'd like to go, Councilmember Robertson. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, city staff, ladies and gentlemen here and at home. Just want to give a thank council for approving that budget amendment for Susquehanna Hose Company. I tell you what, you know, we all know that we've got some good folks in the city but I got to watch them firsthand. You know, unfortunately, last week there was a fire in my neighborhood, and you know, I was thoroughly impressed with how quickly the hose companies showed up and got things under control, and you know, just conducted their business as professionals, and like they've done this before. You know, you can tell that you've got some well-trained folks there, some high-quality equipment, and I'm just real thankful that they were there and able to respond as quickly as they did. A bad situation could have got much, much, much worse. So also want to just remind folks to practice empathy when and wherever possible. It seems like that's what we're missing a lot in the world these days. You know, it's easy for us to get kind of siloed into our own thoughts and feelings sometimes, and we forget about everybody else. But I think if we all just practice a little bit of empathy, this world would be a lot better of a place. Mr. Mayor, that's all my comments.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Robertson. Good evening, Councilmember Martin.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council, citizens. In Havre de Grace, the water and sewer shutoff notices have increased due to the financial impact of COVID-19. Please, if you're having issues, contact the Havre de Grace Finance Department to discuss payment options. We're up about 400 cutoffs, which is a lot more than we've ever had in a long time. But also to help, Harford County has funding available through the Residential COVID Water and Sewer Emergency Assistance Program under the CARES Act. The program provides financial assistance with water and sewer bills to the Harford County residents who have experienced a financial loss due to COVID-19 pandemic. Anyone who is past due on their water and sewer bill or who needs financial assistance to help pay their bills in November or December should review the application program guidelines at www.harfordcaa.org. Applicants may be eligible to up to 7 months of financial assistance. The funds are limited and can only be applied to water and sewer bills during the period starting March 31st. It was supposed to end December 30th. However, they're continuing it until their funds are exhausted. Past due bills prior to March 1st are not eligible for this funding. Funding is available on a first-come, first-served basis. Funding is dependent on availability of the CARES Act fund. The Harford Community Action Agency will provide individuals and families an assessment and payment assistance. Payments are made directly to the water and sewer provider on the applicant's behalf. This information I just gave you is also on the Havre de Grace City website. So you can go there, please. If you're having problems, the city of Havre de Grace is willing to help you, and Harford County has come up with some programs to help as well. A question was directed to me about riding of horses on the Joe K Trail. So I promised I would respond to that. There are currently no restrictions providing horseback riding on the Joe K Trail. I would suggest using good etiquette on the trail, offer the right-of-way to other riders, bikers, and hikers. If it's too difficult to move your horse off a narrow trail when meeting hikers, politely ask them to step off on the downhill side. It's left to make the horse nervous and then let them pass. Besides personal manners, practice good manure manners too. And lastly, Angel Hill Cemetery, the American Legion, the Civil Air Patrol, this weekend did a cleanup of the wreaths across America. So I want to thank all the volunteers that came out. It started at 9 o'clock, and with all the hard efforts, they were done by 10. So in an hour, the 800 wreaths that were laid on the veterans' graves in honor of their service to this country and Christmas were cleaned up. With that, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, Councilmember Martin. We're going to go to Councilmember Ringsager.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I am actually quite surprised that Councilman Robertson did not mention that this weekend is the Robert Burns weekend in Havre de Grace. Friday and Saturday we have events at the State Theater, greatly restricted due to COVID. And then Sunday is the dinner at the Vandiver. I think should probably be sold out by now. Very limited amount of tickets due to COVID. So can go online, you find out about that. We will have some Scottish clothing pop-up shops downtown, and I might hear bagpipes. I too want to commend the Susquehanna Hose Company on fighting the fire, but also we've had several boating accidents or boating issues lately. We had boaters get stuck out on the flats. We had a kayak overturned this past week, and unknown, I guess, to the duck hunters who went out last week. I'd like to recommend to the people going to the bass tournament to avoid the 6-inch deep water on the south of the ramp, because it doesn't get any deeper than that. They got rescued off the mud right there after making out about 300 yards, and they got stuck out there. And this time of year, Chesapeake's very unforgiving. It's cold out there, and things can turn in a hurry. So please be careful, know your surroundings out there in boating, practice proper boating safety. And with that, Youth Hunting Day is February 6th, so I do ask that if you have the ability to take a child hunting, take a kid out there, age 16 and below. Might cut off at 16, but take a kid afield and teach them the heritage of your sport. Would like to note that I will be up in Philadelphia on Thursday for follow-up for my daughter's recent surgery in September at Shriners Hospital for Children, which is the greatest philanthropy in the world. Free medical care, top-notch, best surgeons in the world. Really world-renowned surgeons, cutting-edge technology, and I couldn't be happier to be receiving treatment for my daughter there. So we're going to follow up her knee surgery she just had in September and find out when they're going to take the plates out of her knees. So do ask everybody to pray for that. And I'd like to offer prayers to my Warrior football family. One of my players, his father passed away last week. So yesterday I was able to gather a small group of the kids, and we all went to his house to show support and give some gift cards for local establishments around here, and just show him that he's loved. And Andrew, we're all here for you, buddy. So with that, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Ringsacher. Good evening, Councilmember Boyer.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank everyone tonight who has volunteered to serve our community, either as a member of one of our committees or as a sworn police officer. We need everybody contributing and stepping up to the call, and I really appreciate people who have done that. On behalf of the Green Team, I want to thank everyone here for your votes to support the composting program. If you're not already doing it, if you have any questions about it, please reach out to the Green Team. They have a great website and lots of other programming available on their website. And finally, I want to thank you all for your well wishes on my mom. She's doing a lot better. That was the reason why I was not here at the last meeting. She's doing great after her surgery. While she can now move her neck perfectly fine, she's still complaining like she usually does, so she's wonderful. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Boyer. We're going to go now to business from the Council President. Good evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight I'll try to keep it a little short and sweet. First off, I want to congratulate Jimmy Clark for joining the team. My question to Dave Martin, is he going to bring his referee whistle? Keep control? Okay. My thoughts and prayers go out to the families of both Mike Miller and Richard Tome. As many are aware, Mike Miller was a true statesman and served approximately 4 decades as a Maryland State Senator, and tremendous loss down in Annapolis. Richard Tobin, on the other hand, served on this dais approximately 20 years ago. As the mayor stated, he championed the duck drop. I mean, I know the Susquehanna Hose Company is actively involved in the duck drop, but it was his idea from day one. And another thing that Richard was known for as he served on this dais, every penny he made serving as a city councilman, he donated back to this community. And I know the kids got excited because I would take him down to the country flower shop where he was, where he owned, and they were amazed at the train gardens that Richard had a love for trains, and they always said, "Dad, take me down to the train garden." I send out my deepest sympathies to both families. They both are going to be sorely missed, but trust me, they won't be forgotten. And last but not least, I too want to send out my thanks to Susquehanna Hose Company. The beginning of this year has been very challenging for them. They've had numerous working fires. I mean, it's amazing the number of working fires they had, and they've had water rescues. And like you said, for the duck hunters, they had to be rescued with a helicopter. And to watch that on the internet was amazing, to watch how they got them out of the water. And just, it reinforces to each and every one of us that when we need them, they're always there. Their response, like Jason said, was amazing. And that's not only for that incident, it's for every incident. They get out, they're one of the fastest fire companies, I think, around. And, you know, I just am so thankful they're part of this community. So for all the Susquehanna Hose Company volunteers, thank you for your tireless dedication. Thank you for your selfless service. And thank you for all you do. And for all the new line officers for 2021, we wish you nothing but the best. And Mr. Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you very much for your comments, Council President. Thank you. We're going to move on to item number 19 this evening, which is comments from citizens. This is the part of this evening's agenda that we are, any citizen wishes to talk about city business that is not on this evening's agenda, then we hear it. So I will refer to Mr. Seipolt. Have we received any citizen comments since the last city council meeting that they wish to be read to the public?
No, sir, we have not.
Okay, fair enough. So we will move on to item 20, which is adjournment. Council, I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by his council president, seconded by Councilmember Martin. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion to adjourn city council meeting carries 6-0 in the affirmative. The time is 9:03. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a good evening. Stay safe.